Hey everybody, it's Chris and Jamie from Steeda, and today we're going to be talking about your first time at the road course. This past weekend, Jamie and I went out to Florida International Rally and Motorsport Park in my GT350. Frankly, it was my first time on track with passing, and it was definitely an interesting day. So we're going to go over a couple details of what to expect, how to prep the car, and ultimately why it's so important for a novice to have someone with a lot of experience as an instructor in the passenger seat, risking his life, and giving me pointers along the way, and ultimately teaching good habits so you can continue to be safe, get faster, and have fun, right?
Yep, that's the name of the game, is stay safe and have fun.
First off, before you get to the track, you want to make sure that your car is 100% prepped before going. Jamie, can you give us a couple pointers in order to make sure that the car is properly prepped?
Yeah, the things they're going to be looking for in tech to make sure your car is safe for track use, they're going to check how many lug nuts you have on it, make sure they're all tight, that the battery is tied down, your fluid levels are correct, that just minor other safety things just to make sure the car looks okay. But it's ultimately your responsibility to make sure that your tires are in good condition, your brake pads, your brake fluid is fresh, that you've had the car gone over by a professional if you don't know how to do it yourself.
And with that said, leading up to this event, we made sure that because the firm is a very brake intensive course, that we flushed the fluid with the Hawk HP 600 fluid, and then switched over to some more aggressive pads, knowing that we would not have any brake fade when we're coming into those corners.
Yeah, we made sure that we had good race quality fluid and race quality brakes, because that track is very brake intense. You don't have a lot of time to cool the brakes, so we wanted to make sure that we would have proper brakes for the entire day.
And when you put race pads on a car, you don't necessarily want straight up all seasons or regular summer tires on there either, because then you're having a mismatch of brake torque versus, the ability for the tire to grip the surface. So we had to jump up to 100 tread wear. We put on the same Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3R tires that we tested the Mach 1 in a month ago.
Yeah, you don't want to have a mismatch in your tire grip versus how much brake torque you have. That's going to lead to brake lockup, and you're ultimately going to be fighting your brakes instead of trying to learn to drive the car.
Other than that, the car was pretty much set up the same way we do for autocrosses, but one thing we want to make clear is that you don't necessarily need a race car to go to a racetrack. The biggest thing here is the driver is improving. The cheapest mod you could ever get is the driver mod. So work towards that and get faster, and then add parts as you start to overdrive or become better than the car, right?
Yeah, as soon as you start noticing deficiencies in the car itself, then that's the time to make upgrades.
And another thing to consider, if you are still making payments on your car and you're not really 100% comfortable in the car, you're nervous about other cars on track or things like that, track day insurance is always a safe bet. It is a little expensive depending on the value of your car, but obviously not nearly as expensive if you have a wadded up car that the bank partially owns.
Yeah, you don't want to be making payments on a wrecked car.
Aside from the car, you need to make sure that you're ready as well. That's the most important thing. So with that said, you want to make sure you have plenty of water packed for the day. You're drinking plenty of water the night before and the day before, so you're well hydrated for the event, because you're going to be outside all day. Sunscreen, hat, snacks, the whole bit, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you not only have enough fuel for your car, but also have enough fuel for you. Now that you're ready and your car is ready, make sure you look over the schedule, study it up. That way you can know when you need to be there, when tech is, when the driver's meeting is, and when your particular driving groups are going throughout the day. All right, you're finally at the track, you're unloading the car off the trailer. Jamie, what do you need to do to the car before you even take it out on track?
You need to make sure your tire pressures are set. You don't want to go out there with too low or too high tire pressure. It will affect the handling of the car. how it behaves. A lot of people use cameras of different sorts. Make sure you already have those mounted and ready to go, because you don't want to be in that grid line trying to figure out what your camera's going to do. Have all that stuff set. Make sure you've got your helmet in the car, anything that you need with you while you're driving, gloves, anything of that sort. Have them there ready at hand, so when you get in the car, you can be completely prepped to go out on track. Don't make other people wait.
And then once the car's off the trailer, you've done your self-checks, you're ready to roll the car up to tech, make sure tech's happy with the car and they sign off on it.
Yep.
And then ultimately the driver's meeting. And that's the most important thing, because you need to make sure you're paying attention to what the different flags mean, how that track runs their operations. Everyone runs it a little differently, so be sure you're paying attention during the driver's meeting.
Now, there's a lot of good information that you get at a driver's meeting, especially if it's a track you've never been to. There may be some environmental things you need to understand. The particular track we were at, Florida International Rally Motorsport Park, they do have some wildlife concerns with animals may cross the track or be curious and come out and see what you're doing. And it's important to know that that can happen.
Now that you've had your driver's meeting, the firm does a lead follow lap where you follow the leader and you kind of go at normal road speeds around the track. And Jamie and I had a good opportunity to kind of talk about our lines, make sure that we're, rolling through each turn and coming up, braking. Here's where your braking zone's going to be. Obviously, we weren't at speed, but these are things that you want to make mental notes about and have that muscle memory when you're going to be out on track later in the day.
It's really important to follow the racing line no matter what you're doing on track, whether it's at track speed or you're just doing lead follow laps. Develop the muscle memory of staying on the proper line. The natural line through here is out to the edge of the pavement. You don't really want to come into this curving, and you want to come all the way out. Right in here's your brake point. Hard. Turn in. You just want to touch it. Not necessarily touch it, but you want to track all the way out here and then aim that way. Give the car a chance to straighten up, brake, then turn in, just like he did, just bump it, come all the way out. This is a little bit of a dog leg into here going into 5.
Okay.
You can come further over, you can stay tight. I like to come over a little bit and then let the car move back in. You want to start braking probably at 3 coming in here.
What speed would I be taking that corner?
Minimum speed probably about 45.
Okay.
But the speed coming in is going to be 90s. This, hit the inside of it, good. Don't have to go all the way out. If you can keep the car under control where you don't go all the way to the edge, you're fine. You're going to be edge here, over the top, edge. If you catch too much of that, it'll pitch the car the wrong way.
Right.
Deep, turn it around, drive it out. Don't crowd him too much.
Did I pitch it off too much?
No. You're going to want to play with where you actually make the most of that turn as you're running. I'm braking right here about 3, and I'm trail braking pretty stoutly.
So I'm going to
come into the bottom,
and then come up.
About midway up.
Watch for that come. You're back down.
You're going to come all the way out here.
Was that good?
Yeah,
Okay.
You need to move. That's pretty good.
Okay.
You just want to pay attention to what the nose of the car is doing.
If it's pushing, I need to
go this way.
Okay.
Come over here. Keep the car over here to the right. As you're approaching here, now go to the left.
Got it. And this is my brake zone.
You're going to be braking when you hit those 3. Maybe before then.
Turn.
You're going to want to miss this just like that. Stay out wide, stay out wide, stay out wide. Let it drift on out here. Between 2 and 3, brake hard.
And now we're ready to start racing. So the way we did it, this may not be for everybody, but I've had enough passenger seat laps around the firm in our Mach 1 and our EcoBoost to get a feel for what the track is, but I did want to get a feel for it in my car with Jamie. So Jamie hopped in the driver's seat, I hopped in the passenger seat, and where were you, about 80% pace, 70% pace?
75 to 80% pace, just enough to give a good idea of what the speed felt like, what the car felt like under braking and under some of the high-low turns.
And obviously when you're not in the driver's seat, as the passenger, you really don't have the seat of the pants feeling that you're gonna have in the driver's seat. Everything honestly felt a little bit more violent from the passenger seat to ultimately get that first 123 that Jamie clicked off, just kind of getting a feel at that 75% pace. But going over the S's, like, that was a lot of fun.
The S's there are a lot of fun. Good lap times are had by going over the top of the curbing. It can be a little rough. Passengers usually don't like it the first few times they see it because they get bounced around a little bit, but it is fun.
And as a passenger, I was watching everything Jamie was doing in addition to his lines on the road course. So I had my eyes looking forward, looking ahead, looking at my turn-in, looking at my apex, and knowing and seeing where Jamie was placing the car, knowing that when I was in the driver's seat, I can make those right decisions as well. When he was shifting, his brake points, all those sorts of things. Then we swapped places.
We swapped seats and went out for another 15-minute session and let him get his feet wet with it to see what he was going to do.
And it was funny because when I hopped in the driver's seat, I ended up running that same 123, but it felt drastically different from the driver's seat, which was very interesting. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the traffic on the track as well. Jamie, can you tell us a little bit more about what to expect when you have other people on track at the same time?
It's one of those things you really don't know what to expect because you're going to see a variety of different driving levels of experience and car prep. If you show up in a brand new GT500, don't expect to be the fastest car there.
Right.
Pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to your mirrors. Cars coming up behind you got there for a reason. They're faster. Pay attention to what the point by and passing rules are.
Right.
Let those cars go by in a safe fashion. When you approach cars that are slower than you, understand what the passing rules are. Wait for the point by. Don't just blow past them because you don't know what they may do.
And now that you've had the opportunities to do a couple sessions, get a feel for the car, Jamie actually hopped out for one session and it was just me in the car to kind of get a feel for what the car feels like with the slightly different weight distribution too, which, believe it or not, did make a little bit of a difference. Now you're looking at your lap times a little bit. You're trying to figure out where you are, if you're improving different areas of the track you can improve. For example, my fastest time of the day was a 120.3, which I was honestly, that's faster than I thought I was gonna be running on my first track day there. And Jamie at about, what, probably 80, 90%.
Yeah, about 80%.
He ran a 119, obviously not his car, so he's being a little bit more careful.
119.1.
119.1, make sure. But regardless, we want to show you guys a split screen of, frankly, what a novice perspective would be, first time out on track, what my lines were, what my braking points were, where I was coasting, where I shouldn't have been, things like that. So with that said, check out the 2 laps. Let us know what you think in the comments. was really cool to see all of our parts working the way they should. We had our MagnaRide controller installed in the car, and honestly, the body movement over top of those S's was pretty minimal. It was cool to see everything working as it should. Our comp rear sway bar as well.
Yeah, the car felt really good going across the curbing, not too violent from the driver's seat. Passenger probably disagree, but the car was firm, but still had enough compliance that it was able to absorb the bumps and not lose its composure. Did good.
One thing that I really learned and took away from, and honestly still feeling 72 hours later, is how tense I was behind the wheel. Bryn, one of the guys at the track, actually noticed from the flag stand, probably 150, 200 feet away from the track on turn 10, how tense I was making that turn at turn 10. For some reason, I'm not sure what it is, I don't necessarily do that in autocross, because I guess maybe I'm more comfortable, but maybe there's a little bit of anxiety or nervousness there. But I was at 9-3 and death gripping that steering wheel, which obviously severely affects your fatigue, which I was starting to feel even at the end of a 20-minute session, and definitely still feeling today. But one thing you need to make sure of is that you have comfortable hand placement on the wheel and you relax. You become one with the car. That was probably one of my biggest takeaways. Would you agree?
Yeah, being comfortable in how you approach the car, how the car feels. If you're, like you said, death gripping the steering wheel, you're not going to get as much information as you would if you have a lighter touch on the steering wheel. The
biggest thing that I had issues getting used to as someone who's been autocrossing for many years, it was the braking. In an autocross situation, every input is precise but very quick. And with that comes your tendency to want to stab the brake pedal, stab the gas pedal, turn in quickly and do all of those things. Basically, on a road course, you need to put a pillow in between every input that you are putting in the car. And the first thing that I needed to get used to was track pads on all four corners, yes. And in autocross, the brake feels a little bit different because the brakes don't really get as hot. But on track, when you're doing multiple laps and you're trying to go for times, your brake feel and brake pressure and everything that you're putting into the brakes does feel different. It's the first time I've really felt what hot track brakes feel like.
It can be a different experience. The level of torque you get through race brake pads and race tires is completely different than what you're going to get from a road car, normal street driving, or even an autocross. You're not seeing those kind of speeds nor that kind of load. One of the things that you'll get from an instructor in the car with you is what you're doing wrong. What you're doing right versus what you're doing wrong can be a big tool in helping you go faster and develop good habits. Mm-hmm. One of the things that Chris was having a problem with, and it comes a little bit from autocross, it also comes a little bit from not having track experience, is not using all of the track. He wasn't driving the car to the fullest extent to soften turns for better speed. He was a little bit abrupt on his braking technique. He would just jump off on the brakes, and the car really didn't respond well or like that. It wanted a little bit smoother brake input. As the day went on, he got better about that because he could see how the car was getting upset when he would just jump on the brakes. Car placement is a big thing on track, and you have to put the car in the proper place for better lap time. And it's one of those things that you develop with seat time and some good instruction to be able to do that.
I'm really excited to get back out there because now I have an idea of what to expect. I was honestly a little nervous walking in, but now that it's behind me, I know how it's gonna feel. I know where I can improve. These are all things I've taken in note in the back of my head, and we're gonna be going out and doing this again soon.
Yeah, we got more testing planned with a couple more cars, new products coming out, so we will be at the track soon.
For sure. So comment below, let us know if you have any questions. A little bit of different style video here, but we want to give you an idea of what to expect on your first trip to the road course. If you have any other questions, let us know. Hit that like and subscribe button, that notification bell, and don't forget the most important thing.
Speed matters.